I need you to understand how vile of a human you have to be to put a 200% tariff on generic medications. Trump wants to bring medicine manufacturing back to the US. So instead of providing any money for infrastructure that could actually achieve that, he is going to triple the price of generic medications, which accounts for 90% of US prescription drugs. The whole point of generics is for when a patent expires, you can get a cheaper alternative instead of having to pay tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars for the branded medication. The Supreme Courts have already stated that his tariffs are illegal, but aside from that, this is probably the most truest showcase of his greed, because I can almost guarantee you he has some type of investment in health insurance companies and or various medications that are branded.
Oh, tariffs are a tax on consumers. But what do you say about the workers in America that have lost their jobs? Millions and millions of jobs that have left this country. If you think this is going to change in a year, then you're wrong. We need policy that's brave and courageous, and that's what we're seeing with Trump.
I mean, the main argument is that look at all the things that Trump promised. He promised that he would make us not pay taxes. He promised us that we would have gas prices, national average, less than $2 a gallon. And he promised that he would cut our energy bills in half within a year. It's a year. We don't have any of that. Our energy bills are up 11%. Meanwhile, we see the wealthiest 1% of Americans getting about $1 trillion worth of tax cuts with a big rip-off bill. I would say that's very clear that he's more focused on the wealthiest people in our country.
I think that the argument that I would make, and I think it's a structural one, is that we've got, for the last 30 years, globalism has dulled our strategic thinking. And if we want real change, it's not going to happen, not in a year. It's going to be a strong break, and that's just beginning.
But he said it
what we've seen, and I think that's just part of the issue with a lot of Democrats, is a hyper-fixation on consumers, on, the products. But what we've lost is labor, and I think you, as a Democrat, should understand this.
I didn't know that it was a bad thing to be concerned about prices.
Under Joe Biden,
I didn't know
we
that was a
had
bad
a 50 to 60% increase of border crossings. The illegal immigrant population, you can fact check me on this, Jubilee, but I think it almost doubled. It's like 10 million people came into this country. That affects working class Americans. Democrats don't care about this policy. The reality is that Democrats will be, tariffs are a tax on consumers. But what do you say about the workers in America that have lost their jobs? Millions and millions of jobs that have left this country. If you think this is going to change in a year, then you're wrong. We need policy that's brave and courageous, and that's what we're seeing with Trump.
First off, the unemployment rate is higher since Trump has taken office. So
the unemployment rate has not
I don't really know what you're talking about.
This last quarter, we had a 4% increase.
I think that we should
inflation
on the fact
increased
that
much more than the last year's Biden administration.
That it was controversial.
When Trump got elected the first time and the economy went up, when Trump got elected the first time and the economy went really well, you guys said, it's because he's benefiting from the Obama economy. But now that it's the first year and the economy is starting to lift up, you guys
starting to lift up.
You guys don't say the same thing.
Isn't inflation going up? What are you talking about?
They used to eat black people. So to be in such an uproar and outrage as we watch America unfold its historical behaviors, it's interesting because there's an entire book on how to make a black person into a delicatessen. And so if they used to eat us, do you understand their mentality? The sociopathic mentality that they have. So it's not new for us to see strange fruit hanging, tear gassing middle schools, unaliving people in broad daylight anywhere at their homes at any time of the day, and nothing happens. This is not new to us. What exactly did you think Trump meant when he said, make America great again? Did you think he meant make it great again? No, he meant go back to the times where there was strange fruit hanging. You can unalive people in the middle of the street, spray them with hoses and let dogs eat them. He's taken us back to where our ancestors already been. You guys are in an uproar, and you guys know who I'm talking about. We've been trying to tell you this for centuries, and all you did was call us, you guys are acting like victims, let it go. Well, now you see. History always repeats itself because this is a narcissistic system, and they will do whatever they need to do to maintain power and control. So now, do you see clearly what we, us black, original people, have been trying to tell you? This is a part of the reason why they keep us divided, so you won't believe nothing that we say. Well, now you get to see it. We ain't got to say nothing.
The same fucking people who told black Americans to stop whining about slavery, stop whining about reparations, stop whining about affirmative action, stop whining about systemic racism, and saying that racism doesn't exist anymore, are the first motherfuckers who are rushing to change the congressional maps so they can try to get an advantage in the following midterms coming up. Racism has always existed, motherfuckers, and you're proving their point. Fuck you, MAGA. Fuck you, MAGA Republicans. You guys are fucking disgusting pieces of shit, and you're not fucking Christians, and you deserve to go to hell and burn like a motherfucker. Yeah, that's what every normal, rational American is thinking, because you guys are fucking disgusting human beings.
You're going to hear more about tariffs and possibly see an increase in prices at the store because Trump just imposed tariffs on these 60 countries between 10 to 12.5%, alleging that they are participating in forced labor. He's now using Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974 to impose these tariffs. Meanwhile, at the same time, his administration is paying out billions of dollars in tariff refunds from last year to corporations because last year he used the IEEPA, Economic Emergency Powers Act. And the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that those tariffs were illegal because he did not have authorization to impose those tariffs. A total of $86.3 billion has already been paid out to corporations. This is an increase from the amount that I previously reported yesterday, which was $70 billion. And the number is going to continue to grow. They have already accepted $121 billion in refund claims. And there are estimates that this number could go up to $167 billion in refunds to corporations who raised their prices in store, which caused you to pay more for the everyday goods that you need. And there is no accountability or no recourse for Americans and consumers. It is only going to these corporations or the brokers, the importers, the people who imported these products. And the majority of the people who are overseeing this are Republicans in Congress, in the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate and in the White House. They have the ability to put some accountability into this entire process to ensure that these refunds get back into the hands of Americans, and instead they are choosing to stay silent and to do absolutely nothing, while all of us are seeing an increase in prices in everyday goods and grocery and gas.
Remember when Trump said this about prescription drug prices?
We're going to get the drug prices down, not 30 or 40%, which would be great, not 50 or 60. No, we're going to get them down 1,000%.
Forget the fact that he can't do math. Over and over again, Trump promised to get prescription drug prices down, but instead, he's about to double them. Trump said he'd bring all sorts of prices down. In fact, he promised gas would go down, electricity would go down, food and drugs. But between his tariffs and his wars, that's just not working out. In fact, when he's not mocking the use of the word affordability, Trump's tariffs are actually driving prices way up further. And he doesn't seem to care. But it's not about forced labor, and it's not about dumping.
Tariff is my favorite word.
Why is tariffs Trump's favorite word? Well, it's about the cost of his wars, the cost of his wall. No, Mexico never paid a dime for that wall. And most of all, it's about the cost of the tax break that Trump gave billionaires. Trump is on the verge of doing to the United States government exactly what he did to his Atlantic City casinos. Trump got paid, but the casinos went bankrupt. And now, Trump's getting rich, pulling in billions a year, while the U.S. Treasury is out an estimated $550 billion a year. That's $500 billion in tax money lost, $50 billion more in waste for the Iran war that Trump is busy losing. The Trump 100% tax on imported generic drugs, that's doubling the cost of 90% of the prescription drugs that all Americans take. Follow the money.
Americans are having a real cost problem. And I think that some of that relates back to the tariff decisions. I think everybody has conceded that Americans actually end up paying the cost of President Trump's tariffs.
I don't concede that the tariffs went through to consumers. A lot of them were eaten by foreign companies. A lot of them were diluted in the supply chain. And the reason why they're going back, can I, sir, may I? The reason why they're...
You can't, because I'm the one who has the limited time here. You're here all day. If, in fact, it's not paid by the American side, it would make no sense to be making refunds. So just your behavior with tariff refunds proves the point that it's not just paid by foreigners or foreign governments or China or whomever. So good luck with that.
Well, good morning, friends. So Donald J. Trump, the mentally ill patient number 47, is so out of touch with reality, so out of touch with the economy, and he's about to make things far worse than they already are. So, as you know, during Liberation Day, Donald Trump imposed all of these tariffs around the world, and ultimately the Supreme Court ruled that these tariffs were unconstitutional. But now Donald Trump is imposing new tariffs on 60 nations around the world at an average of 10 to 12%. And so your costs are about to get much more expensive once again, because this man does not know what he is doing. This man is actively making decisions that hurt the American people. And he's doing it at a time where prices are already out of control, not only because of his tariffs before, but because of this ridiculous war that he went and started with Iran, which now, as I'm sure many of you have seen, it's escalated and it's moved into the Red Seas, and the Houthis have gotten involved. But there is some silver lining to all of this chaos that's happening in our nation. The cracks in the foundation are showing. Donald Trump is losing massive amounts of support from his own voter base. I want to show you this Fox News poll so that you can see it for yourself. So according to this Fox News poll, 58% of people worry about the cost of living, and that is up 50% since February. 51% of those polled say that their finances are worse than they were 2 years ago. And look at this number, the big one, 76% Trump's disapproval on inflation. 76% of Fox News viewers disapprove of Trump's handling of inflation. Now, this is his base. This is coming from Fox News. This is not a CNN poll. This is not an MSNBC poll. This is Fox News, the loyal MAGA cult members. And if they're tired of it, you can be assured that that's going to show up at the polls in the midterms. Because like that famous saying always goes, it's the economy, stupid. And when people have to pay more at the pump, pay more at the grocery store, and their paychecks don't stretch like they used to, they're going to vote in a direction that's going to ultimately benefit them, benefit their family. We hope anyway. But he is quickly losing his grip. And this new round of tariffs that he's doing, it's going to exacerbate this problem. It's going to make it so much worse. And things are going to get way more expensive for you, way more expensive for me. And ultimately, these things that Donald Trump is doing hurts his base the most, because most of his voters are in the rural red areas in red states where wages are low, but the cost of living just keeps rising. And not only that, I'm not sure if you saw it, but Donald Trump basically told everybody that they just need to stop fighting against these AI data centers and go with the flow, because it's going to happen anyway. And so, as we've seen in all of the news, a lot of these data centers are being put in red states, in red rural areas, and the people, they don't want them. Nobody wants to live next to a data center that's got a constant humming noise all night, that's polluting their water supplies. We saw what happened in Utah. Utah is as red as it gets, and they didn't want that data center. But here's Donald Trump being out of touch with reality, out of touch with his people, telling them just deal with it. It's coming. And so that's Trump's way of handling everything, is telling his own base, just deal with it. It's all made up. You can't afford groceries? You're lying. Just stop crying about it. I'm tired of hearing it. And so he's going to make the economy so much worse. And he's telling people just deal with these data centers. New rounds of tariffs coming. War is escalating in the Middle East. It's a non-stop disaster. And Trump is at the center of it all. And his own followers are starting to notice and see that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, follow for more. As always, this is Grim with Get the Rant, and I'll see you all in the next video.
So Trump just put on new tariffs yesterday, and I want you guys to understand that this is quite literally the heist of the century. When Trump put these big tariffs on the first time, companies went and raised our prices as a result to cover for the extra price that goods cost them. Now, eventually, this was struck down by the Supreme Court, and all the companies that went and raised our prices got refund checks for the extra amount they paid for tariffs. Even though they had already raised our prices, they got a check back. But you know who didn't get a check? You went to the grocery store and paid more, but did you get a check back for the extra cost of the tariffs? Absolutely not. It was basically a free check to these companies, an excuse to raise your prices while they get that amount back on the back end. And so now that same scam is happening again. Trump put new tariffs in place, companies will raise your prices, and then when the courts go and strike the new tariffs down as illegal, they will get refund checks for all of this stuff. It is a transfer of your money to the richest companies on earth, and it's a racket that they can do over and over and over again. Call it for what it is, the heist of the century, honestly, the greatest robbery ever perpetuated across the American people. It's absolutely absurd.
He says gas is still cheaper than 2022 Democrats in power. Well, let's look at the information. When Biden left office, the day he left office, according to the internet, it was $3.11 a gallon. July 25th, according to the internet, gas is $4.11 average per gallon of regular gas. 37% increase in gas prices from Biden to Trump. Please fact check me. In addition, it's going to get much worse because the Iran war is full-scale escalation. Make sure you get gas today. It will be going up. And also, when gas prices go up, so does food, clothing, and everything else. Don't forget, we also now have tariffs again that Trump has imposed, even though the Supreme Court, the law of our land, said it's illegal. Why should a president listen to the law of the United States, right? I mean, silly me. But anyways, I digress. He's just put tariffs on everything. So now prices are going to go up. The U.S. importers will pay the tariff. They'll pass the cost on to you. They will eventually get a refund like they're getting now. You would have paid 90% of the tariffs, so get ready for sky-high inflation, sky-high gas prices. And let me just remind you, we had a pandemic when Trump left office, and Biden got inflation down. It was 2.9%. Now it's 4.2%. So comparing Biden, who had to deal with a 100-year worldwide pandemic, to a president who has on his own put on tariffs, on his own attacked another country, on his own who has bad economic policy because he's gone bankrupt 6 times, is really like comparing apples with oranges. Do you agree? Hi, my name's Christina. I have a master's degree in business, a degree in accounting. This guy probably went to high school 50 years ago. But please, I always ask everyone to verify information is readily available, and follow me for more economic news.
Republicans really don't have any principles. It's essentially whatever Trump said last. They talk nonstop about cutting costs, fighting inflation, until Trump pushes policies like sweeping tariffs that raise prices on everyday goods. A tariff is still paid by all of us. But you MAGA turds still think that it's being paid by China or other countries. Like they claim to have or care about fiscal responsibility until Trump adds $1 trillion to the deficit or floats a new freaking spending idea with no plan to pay it back or pay for it. All of a sudden, all worries, all concerns just fucking disappear overnight. I love it when the Republican politicians say like, oh, let's support American workers, until Trump backs some policies that undercuts labor protection or side with the corporation like all the time. Then suddenly is, we need to see the bigger picture. everything that's going bad in the country, it's the Democrats' fault. It's Biden's fault. It's Obama's fault. Oh yeah, recently he came back with the deep state. Anyone but him and his people. When Trump flips on an issue, everybody flips, bro. Like, it's so fucking weird. These people have no backbone.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to our video. So in today's video, we want to break down the current situation going on in MAGA, whereby MAGA are in shambles. America rejects his new tariff by a huge margin. So I want to quickly share my own opinion according to what I think. So in my own opinion, this is not just about debates about tariff. So it is about whether Americans are willing to pay higher prices today in the hope of a stronger economy tomorrow. So when Donald Trump cut the tariff, a lot of people are getting angry. And if you notice, for years, Donald Trump has argued that tariffs are necessary to protect American workers and bring manufacturing back to the United States. And his supporters often say that America has been taking advantage of international trade for too long, and that tougher trade policies are the only way to level the playing field. And I understand why that message appeals to many people. If you have watched factory close, job moves overseas, or local business struggle to compete, it is easy to see why you will support stronger trade policy. But here is where my opinion starts to change. The question is not whether tariffs sound good. The question is whether they actually improve the lives of ordinary Americans. So if tariffs cause businesses to pay more for imported materials, many of those businesses will simply pass the extra cost on to consumer. And if you notice, that means higher prices for every product, from household goods to construction material, and even food in some cases. So when Americans hear about new tariff, many are not thinking about international trade. They are thinking about their next grocery bill. So they are thinking about whether they can still afford to run their businesses. They are thinking about whether lives is becoming more expensive. So let me ask you this: if a policy is made to protect American jobs but also raise prices for American families, do you think it's worth it? So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Personally, I believe every economic policy should be judged by one simple question: does it make life better for ordinary people? Not for politicians, not for headlines, not for campaign speeches, not for ordinary families. I mean for ordinary families. So if people are paying more while seeing little improvements in their own financial situation, it is understandable that some voters would begin questioning the policy. So that doesn't necessarily mean they are rejecting Donald Trump. It simply means they are asking whether there is a better approach, or maybe there is a better approach. I also think this is a reminder that the economy is more complicated than campaign slogans. Trade is connected to manufacturing, and also manufacturing is connected to supply chains, while supply chains are connected to prices, and prices affect every American household. That is why economic decisions often have consequences that reach far beyond Washington. So in my own opinion, I think America doesn't have to choose. I think American doesn't have to choose between protecting his industry and maintaining a healthy economy. So the best leaders should be able to do both: protect American workers, encourage domestic manufacturing, negotiate fair trade agreements, but also make sure families are not carrying most of the financial burden. At the end of the day, voters doesn't measure success by how tough a politician sounds. They measure success by what happens when they swipe their credit card at the grocery store, when they pay their monthly bills, or try to keep their small business alive. So that is the real test of the economic policy. And that is why I believe America will continue asking hard questions whether new policy affects their wallets. So here is the final question: if tariffs strengthen American industry but increase the cost of living for everyday families, would you still support them, or should leaders find a different solution? Share your opinion in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.